We talk a lot here about what matters, like what we should keep our eye on, what is going to make a difference. Does it matter that Donald is getting some very bad polling? Does it matter that he seems to be unraveling in real time uh, on his failing social media platform or in interviews when somebody has the audacity to fact check him? Does that stuff matter? I think it will. I think this is a situation in which uh, everything that's going on will come together to reach a critical mass. But what also matters are the other things we've spent a lot of time here talking about. The Trump regime's overreach, the Trump regime's lawlessness, the Trump regime's very obvious contempt for the American rule of law, for American democracy, and for the American people. So, is there hope for us? Is there a shot at turning things around? Is this about waiting to see if the Trump regime is going to implode? Or is this about what we can be doing? Well, I think it's probably a combination of the two things, but it's always better to feel empowered than to feel like bystanders in our lives. So, what I see happening is people sitting up and noticing that things that should not be happening in the United States of America are happening with increasing frequency. And they're beginning to understand that this is not at all the way it should be, that Congresspeople should not be using insider trading to enrich themselves while Americans continue to struggle because inflation and the economy are so bad. This is not a country in which it should be okay for any member of any cabinet to feel completely comfortable carrying around $3,000 in cash. And then when that cash is stolen, pretend that she suddenly understands how the American people feel about having been, quote unquote, ripped off by the Biden administration, especially when you consider that most Americans don't have $3,000 in savings, let alone $3,000 in their wallets. People are starting to notice that it is not okay to defy judges' orders. It is not okay to ignore the Supreme Court of the United States of America, and it is not okay to deny anybody due process. So, what is giving me hope, what is making me feel optimism right now, is that a majority of Americans are not standing for this. And that's critically important. Why? Because it will get under Donald's skin that he's getting bad poll numbers? No. I mean, great that I'm happy it makes him miserable. But that's not why it matters. It's very obvious that Donald Trump, his minions, his enablers, his sycophants have one goal, and that goal is to turn the United States of America into a fascist autocracy, which will make it easier for them to maintain power for as long as they want, and to raid our treasury at the expense of the American people. They cannot do that. They cannot get away with that if the majority of us are paying attention and stand up together and say, not on our watch. Let's dive in. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's episode of Mary Trump Live. It is wonderful to be with you today. I want to start with some good news in the fight for immigrants and free speech. It's rare, so let's definitely celebrate this one. Today, a federal judge ordered the release of a man named Mohsen Mahdawai. He's a Palestinian student at Columbia University and a U.S. permanent resident, which means he's here legally. He was arrested by ICE during a routine citizenship interview, and he's been held since April 14th after the Trump regime used a Cold War era immigration clause to justify his detention, claiming that Mahdawai's activism was a foreign policy threat. The judge called the detention, quote, unjustified and retaliatory, unquote, comparing it to McCarthy-era crackdowns and warning of its chilling effect on free speech. Upon release, Mahdawai delivered this message, quote, to Donald Trump and his cabinet, I'm not afraid of you, unquote. I'm going to repeat that because there are a lot of people out there who need to hear that message, process it, take it in, and actually pay attention. To Donald Trump and his cabinet, I'm not afraid of you. If somebody in such a vulnerable position can say those words so bluntly, so clearly, and with such courage, I'm pretty sure a lot of people who have actual power, who are actually protected from the worst Donald Trump has to offer, I'm pretty sure they can do at least some version of that. It's already become a rallying cry across campuses and advocacy circles, and it should be a rallying cry among anybody in the Democratic Party, especially those who are elected officials. So, again, it is not that difficult. To Donald Trump and his cabinet, I'm not afraid of you. As the fight against Donald's illegal deportations continues, Kilmar Abrego Garcia remains in a gulag in El Salvador, and confusion surrounding his deportation continues to mount. As we know, weeks before Donald's Oval Office meeting with President Bukele of El Salvador, deportation flights had landed in El Salvador filled with men the United States labeled gang members, even though there's no proof that they are or were. And none of them, or at least most of them, had never even been tried in court. They were all denied due process in this instance. Now it's being reported that Bukele had only agreed to take quote unquote convicted criminals and asked for proof these men were actually part of the gang that Donald Trump and the Trump regime have labeled inaccurately a terrorist organization, Tren de Aragua. What followed was a scramble to justify the deportations. And now recent reports show the White House might be grandstanding in their attempt to get Garcia back, which is to say, they might be lying to our faces about making any attempts at all to get Garcia back. The Trump regime claimed that it had sent a diplomatic request to bring Garcia home, but Bukele said no, calling Garcia a Salvadoran citizen who should remain imprisoned. Legal experts now suggest that all of this was for show, a performance to pretend they're complying with the Supreme Court ruling that ordered Garcia's return. Then came this latest twist. In an ABC interview, Donald claimed that he had the power to bring Garcia back, which is a complete contradiction to earlier statements made by people in the Trump regime. Adding even more to the chaos, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt doubled down, saying this, quote, in the Oval Office, President Bukele made it very clear he will not be smuggling Abrego Garcia, who is a designated foreign terrorist, MS-13 gang member, and El Salvadoran national, back into the United States, unquote. All right, so what's going on? Is it Bukele who's lying? Is it Donald? Is this just performative? Is this kabuki theater to kind of trick the courts, the judges, into believing that serious efforts are being made? Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know what's going on. There is no universe in which the president of El Salvador, who's being paid millions of dollars to house these men, mostly, in gulags, is going to go against whatever the president of the United States tells him to do. There is no universe in which that is the case. There is also no universe in which the president of the United States, one, doesn't know what's going on, and two, doesn't have the power to make sure this man is returned to the United States immediately. So we're all being lied to. basically. And the fact that this confusion, so-called, is being allowed to continue just shows us once again the weakness in having to rely upon the judiciary, because none of this should have been allowed to continue as long as it's continued. This has been going on for weeks now. These men are in real danger. Their due process rights have been horribly violated, and they are in a prison that is notorious worldwide for its human rights violations. Why is nobody in the Trump regime or from the Trump DOJ in jail for contempt of court? Why are the judges not playing hardball? Why are they allowing lawyers for Donald Trump to continue to lie to their faces? That I do not know. In a heartbreaking moment outside a Texas detention center, a drone captured detainees spelling out the letters SOS with their bodies. Reuters has the footage. Why? Why are they in trouble? What help are they signaling for? Well, chances are it's because they have no access to attorneys. They have no access to the facts about why they're being detained. They've literally been illegally detained and shut away without the due process we keep talking about. There's literally no way any of this is above board. And again, can I prove that? No, because we have so little information. Like, we don't even know what Homeland Security or ICE knows about the people they illegally detain and deport. They're not telling us. So we can only speculate. I think it's informed speculation. If they knew, if they had proof that these men were actually terrorists or gang members, do you seriously think they wouldn't be printing that in every paper in the United States of America? Of course they would. So here's some more informed speculation. We know who Donald Trump is. We know that he is almost pathologically incapable of telling the truth, even when it would be the easiest thing in the world to do. And why on earth would we continue to give that man and the people with whom he surrounds himself the benefit of the doubt? These are people who are fascists. They've made it very, very clear that their sole purpose here is to humiliate and endanger the lives of people they deem unacceptable, of people they do not want in this country for whatever reason they're going to make up. So it is time to stop believing a word that comes out of their mouths, and it is far past time to continue giving them more room to obfuscate and to change the subject when it seems very clear to me. A judge says, return this person tomorrow. If that person is not returned, well, then there need to be sanctions immediately. We don't need more proof. Bring them back. Doesn't matter what crimes they committed, if any. It doesn't matter what gangs they belong to, if any. It doesn't matter if they're terrorists. Every single human being on American soil is guaranteed by the Constitution of the United States the right to due process. That is all that should matter here. Every single one of these people needs to be brought back now. Now, I want to talk about Donald's huge celebration. Yes, it was 100 days of massive failure. Not just failure, of course. Kind of economic devastation and cruelty and all that kind of stuff. But, I mean, I personally, I was celebrating the failure because that's fun for me. So he marked the occasion at a rally at Macomb Community College in Michigan, calling calling the Trump regime a revolution. I don't think I can say this with a straight face. Let me try. I can't. A revolution. Sorry, a revolution of common sense. My voice cracked. It was 100 minutes. 100 minutes he stood on that stage of making empty threats. Half the seats were empty. And, his usual bullshit about immigration and his made in America tax rebates. I would not be surprised if he also revisited the results of the 2020 election. But there's one clip above all of them that I think really, really says it all about where we are and how deluded anybody is if they think that they can actually get Donald Trump to listen to common sense. Here is threatening automakers who do not bend to his will.
They took in parts from all over the world. I don't want that. I want them to make their parts here. But I gave them a little bit of time. It's called a little flexibility. The guys were crying. They love it. Everything's good. But just in case we can't get everything in time, we gave them a little bit. So it's 15% of the parts, and then it's 10% of the parts. We give them a little time before we slaughter them if they don't do this. Right.
That escalated quickly. Wow. Slaughter? That's just the kind of rhetoric you want to hear coming from the guy in the Oval Office. That was very measured. Well, it's very difficult to make a car 100% of all of the car parts in America when, there are things called tariffs that increase the cost of goods by 10, 20, 50, 145%. So I'm not entirely sure what thread is going to work better. Either, hey, car makers, you make your cars in America or I'm going to slaughter you. I mean, I guess that's a compelling argument. Or you make cars in America and I'll be nice to you, even though a car that used to cost $20,000 is now going to cost $500 billion. I don't think that's also not going to move the needle. It's just another sign of Donald's desperation. And it's another sign that clearly he's making this up because no automaker in the current circumstance is going to Donald and crying and I mean, they may be crying because things are so bad, but they're not crying with tears of gratitude. Let's put it that way. There are some other things not going well for Donald. He sat down ill-advisedly, I have to be honest, for an interview with Terry Moran. And I guess Terry Moran didn't get the memo that you are not supposed to fact check Donald in real time. Terry, have you not been paying attention to what journalists do in this country? So there was a moment where Donald was caught actually talking about due process in a way that should send chills down our spine. Check it out.
Thousands of murderers that came in. They're going to murder people. They already have murdered people in our country.
Right, so
we have to get them out, and we have to get them out fast.
Really bad guys, but in our country, even bad guys get due process.
All right? If people come into our country illegally, there's a different standard. These are illegal. They came in illegally.
But they get due process.
Well, they get a process where we have to get them out. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about the Venezuelans.
They get whatever my lawyers say.
Well, the law requires that every single person who is going to be deported gets a hearing first. Well, do you acknowledge that?
I'll have to ask the lawyers about that. All I can say is this. If you're going to have 21 million people, and we have to get a lot of them out because they're criminals, we're going to have to act fast. We can't. Do you think we can give 21 million trials? Let's say each trial takes 2 weeks. Is that what you want us to do?
The law is the law, sir.
Well, okay. Due process. They're going to get a process. Okay, cool. Also, my lawyers will tell him, first of all, they're not your lawyers. Well, they're not supposed to be your lawyers. They're supposed to be DOJ attorneys who are representing the United States of America. So that's one thing. Secondly, the lawyers don't need to tell you this. Just read the Constitution. It's right there. along with Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which tells us that you weren't supposed to be allowed to run for presidency in 2024. Oh, well. Anyway, here's Terry Moran, who refused to allow Donald to smear Kilmar Abrego Garcia as a gang
member of a gang. And then they looked, and on his knuckles, he had MS-13.
There's a dispute.
Wait a minute. He had MS-13 on his knuckles.
Oh, he had some tattoos that are interpreted that way. But let's move on.
Wait a minute. Terry.
He didn't have the letter MS-13.
It says MS-13.
That was Photoshopped.
That was Photoshop. Terry, you can have that. Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're in the interview. I picked you because I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice. He had MS-13 tattooed.
We'll agree to disagree. I'll move on to something else.
Terry, do you want me to show you the picture?
I saw the picture.
And you think it's Photoshop? Well,
Here we go.
Don't Photoshop it. Go look at his hand. He had MS-13.
He did have tattoos that can be interpreted that way. I'm not an expert on them. I want to turn to Ukraine.
I want to get to Ukraine. No. He had MS, as clear as you can be, not interpreted. This is why people no longer believe the news, because it's fake news.
In El Salvador, they aren't there. But let's just go. They aren't there when he's in El Salvador.
They weren't there, but they're there now, right?
No.
But they're in your picture. Terry.
Ukraine, sir.
He's got MS-13 on his knuckles.
All right.
Okay?
We'll take a look.
Okay. Where to start? Let's start with the idiocy. That's just our go-to, right? The picture is so clearly photoshopped, and not just is it photoshopped, like they use clip art. Like it literally looks like somebody just drew it on a photograph with a cheap magic marker. It is so obviously inauthentic, but it's not the lie. I mean, the lie is awful, of course. But it is Donald's inability to withstand any kind of pushback, claiming that Terry Moran wasn't being nice to him because Terry Moran was actually coming at him with facts he didn't like, facts that didn't agree with his twisted, deranged narrative. Also, not that it's that important, but imagine the big break of your lifetime being given a chance to talk to Donald Trump. I mean, that's depressing. So good for Terry Moran for continuing to push back. And I made a video about this earlier today. So we're going to drop that link in the chat. I urge you to check it out because I go more, we play more clips from the interview, but I also go more deeply into why it matters. Why it matters and why it has always mattered that journalists do the kind of work Moran just did there, because that is the only way to counter somebody like Donald Trump and reveal who he really is, the incompetent, incapable, thin-skinned, weak person who cannot handle facts and who should never, ever be in a position of power. So definitely check out that video. Now, not surprisingly, because Donald is the one who created this permission structure, he's not the only person in the Trump regime benefiting from playing dirty. Reports have now surfaced that show that Marjorie Greene continued to use her insider knowledge of Donald's economic policy plans to her advantage in the stock market. She bought shares in a company called Palantir on April 8th. Just 9 days later, ICE awarded Palantir a $30 million contract. Greene, of course, sits on the Homeland Security Committee. And yes, the stock has already surged nearly 50%. Republican policies are bad enough as it is, but the fact that so many of Republicans in Congress are completely amoral and are willing to take advantage of their very, very privileged and powerful positions to take advantage of us and our systems to enrich themselves just makes it all so much worse. I'm going to show you this chart. When I first saw it, I have to be honest, it blew my mind. And also, I just want you to be aware that this is during both Republican and Democratic administrations. I mean, we don't know, obviously, the composition of the Congress people who own stocks or buy stocks while they shouldn't be allowed to. But the chart itself was revelatory. So this shows how Congress members' stocks do compared to the S&P 500 on average. I guess the short version is must be nice to be a corrupt congressperson who has no compunction about using insider knowledge to enrich yourself illegally, while Americans' 401ks are tanking. So something needs to be done, and it seems like the only party willing to do something is the Democratic Party. Yeah, so maybe we should get them back into power. In the face of all of this corruption, finally, university leaders are fighting back against the fascists. Two Rutgers professors, David Salas de la Cruz and Paul Boxer, launched a bold counteroffensive by drafting a mutual defense compact for universities. As they put it, this is very simple stuff. Quote, an infringement against one member university shall be considered an infringement against all, unquote. The compact, which is modeled after NATO, has been adopted by 10 Big Ten schools so far. These include Ohio State, UCLA, and Penn State. It is spread to over a dozen universities nationwide and helped inspire Harvard's lawsuit against Trump regime-era education cuts. Why does this matter? Well, because it's a blueprint and a permission structure. This is exactly what should have happened the moment Columbia University was threatened by the Trump regime, the moment Columbia's autonomy as an institution of higher learning was threatened, the moment Columbia's students were threatened for exercising their First Amendment rights to assemble peaceably and to their right to free speech. This is exactly what should have happened as soon as Donald Trump started going after white shoe law firms simply because they were defending people who were doing their jobs at the DOJ during the Biden administration and investigating the alleged crimes of Donald Trump. If all of these white shoe law firms, if all of these universities had stood together from the very beginning, we would be having a very different conversation about where we are now in terms of the rule of law and the future of free thought in America. So it is incredible, finally, to see influential facilities step up for their students and resist attacks on education. It is a long time coming. That does not mean that we shouldn't be incredibly grateful that it's happening now. So if you guys want to join the fight, tomorrow will be a great opportunity to do so. It's May 1st, which means it's May Day. The grassroots organization 5051 is organizing May Day protests in all 50 states in order to oppose Donald's second-term agenda, citing threats to democracy, workers, and, of course, immigrant rights. If you'd like to find your city's location and time, please visit the links in our bio after the show. And if you're out tomorrow, please feel free to send pictures and videos from the protest you visit to info@marytrumpmedia.com. That's info@marytrumpmedia.com. americafirst.com. And don't forget to tell us where you're taking the pictures or video from. We want to know which cities you're at. We also want to get your sense of how many people were there. So please, everybody, check it out. And if you can, go to one of those protests, because they need to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so we are used to dealing with hardened criminals on a daily basis here at Mary Trump Media and at Mary Trump Live. Sadly, most of them are running the government right now. But for today's emotional support moment, we have a different kind of thief. I think I'm pretty sure you'll like this one. So take a look.
Bathing suits, boxers. Last night, this showed up at about probably 12:30 at night.
For weeks.
One piece at a time.
It's a lot of stuff.
All these different dish towels.
Joseph and Heather Barty have been trying to solve quite the mystery.
Multiple different socks.
It started when a tank top and some socks randomly appeared on the front porch of their Metairie home.
So we just thought maybe someone just got drunk and just had clothes and had some kind of issue.
But socks, shirts, swimsuits, and towels kept piling up.
It keeps happening and happening and happening.
A little concerned, the couple filed a police report.
We started getting weirded out. Heather went and bought some surveillance cameras just to figure out who it was.
Then, appearing from their bushes,
Lo and behold, it was the cat.
the culprit, their pet Admiral Galacticat, caught on camera with evidence of the theft.
This is nuts. And then I felt stupid because I filed a police report.
They made this sign and posted on a Facebook garage sale page, "My cat is stealing someone's laundry." As it turns out, Admiral Galacticat didn't have to roam too far to commit the crime. Just around the corner, a neighbor's laundry room wasn't quite secure enough to keep him out. Casey plans to secure his laundry door, as they all hope Admiral Galacticat's burglary days are behind him. In Metairie, Erica Ferrando, Eyewitness News.
They always look so innocent, don't they? Admiral Galacticat. Good for you. Wow. Give him all of the cat treats. What a cat. Like, seriously. I can't say more because Cap would get jealous. So I'm just going to keep the rest to myself. Okay. Let me refocus, because that was hysterical. And take a look at some of your questions and comments. All right. Kaz, thank you so much, Kaz. Comment, fee for the laughs at Donald Tree Photoshop. I know, it's just like, what? You should be able to expect more from somebody who has access to like the most advanced technology on the planet. No, that's what they really just like. That's what it looked like. I mean, if you guys saw the picture, it's just embarrassing that anybody for like a millisecond would think that that was a legitimate thing. Stephanie, Canadian in the house, thank you so much for that. Comment, Mary, I'm an Anglican priest on Vancouver Island. Every year, a dozen of my parishioners head down south to winter in the States. They all came back this year saying they're not returning to MAGA. Yeah, we've been reporting on this. Canadian tourism is taking a nosedive. Canadians, for very obvious and legitimate reasons, do not want to be coming to the United States of America anymore. Like even blue states, because why support a country that is being so hostile towards them? But yeah, I mean, there are parts of this country I don't want to go to either, quite frankly. So it is very sad, but I completely understand it. Natalie, thank you so very much for that. I need to check out what that currency is. Comment. And also, thank you again. Comment. There are so-called undocumented immigrants who pay tax in the United States of America. That means a document of their presence exists. Call them non-permanent migrant instead. That gives them the dignity they deserve, like all people deserve. Yeah, interesting. That's true. Many immigrants who are not permanent residents here pay more taxes than Donald Trump ever has in his life. And we do need to acknowledge that. Absolutely. I think undocumented immigrants is just shorthand for people. It doesn't mean that they don't have documents acknowledging their existence. It means they don't have the quote unquote right kind of documents to be here, quote unquote, legally. That's all. But if it's offensive, then we shouldn't say it. Just as you guys know, I will never ever use the word illegal to describe a person. So thank you for that. Champagne Hand, another Canadian. Elbows up, guys. Thank you for that comment. Still here, but also over there on headphones while I dig a literal hole. That's new, but I like it. Cool. Nanner, thank you as always. Comment, I'm very late. Forgive me, fee. You are forgiven. We're keeping the fee. No, seriously, I have to keep saying this. There are no fees. We so appreciate them. And we appreciate you guys for coming up with new reasons to give them to us. But I don't want anybody to be under the misapprehension that we here at Mary Trump Live make people give us fees. We'll still accept them, though, even though they're fictional. Jana, thank you very much for that comment. Here's I have to go to work and we'll watch the rest of the morning. See what I mean? Thanks for all your hard work and helping with sanity. Well, you're welcome. And we are very glad it helps because that's part of our mission here is to help people, including ourselves, quite honestly, from spinning out because sometimes it's a lot. Dennis said, thank you as always. Comment, this is for avocados, bananas, mango. Avocados, bananas, mangoes, a backyard, and a chicken coop. I'm going to have to make that stretch a very long way. Because then I also need the chickens to go with the coop. But thank you for that. For those of you who aren't aware, remember the Secretary of Agriculture said that we should all just have raised chickens in our backyards if we are upset about how expensive eggs are. Let's leave aside bird flu for a second. And then they want us growing mango trees or something. So yeah, it's a problem for those of us who don't have backyards. So thanks to this. Being Nancy, thank you as always. Comment, Terry Moran was amazing. Yeah, he was. And you know what else? It didn't look that hard. Right? Didn't look that hard. I mean, personally, and this is just because this has nothing to do with Mr. Moran. This just has to do with the fact that I've been waiting for like a decade for people to do this on a regular basis. So it's very frustrating to me. But, he could have pushed harder because it's just remarkable how Donald just unravels. And I think, again, it would be revelatory if people could see just how little he cannot handle pressure. He becomes unhinged, and it's really not that hard. So keep it up, journalists. That's your brief. You guys should be tag teaming each other. That's why I get frustrated, not because Terry Moran did anything wrong, but just because this is exactly what should have been happening since 2015. Well, actually, this is what should have been happening since the 1980s. The Weather Buff, thank you very much for that comment. Is he going to be nice to Ukraine now that we've signed the minerals deal? No. He's still going to do whatever Vladimir Putin tells him to do. But, we just have to keep in mind that President Volodymyr Zelensky is in an absolutely impossible situation. He is between the proverbial Scylla and Charybdis, and it is absolutely horrifying to see how both Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin are taking advantage of that. So, Victoria, thank you very much, Victoria. Comment, I attended Macomb College 40 years ago, Fee. How dare you? It's not your fault that that's where he gave his rally speech. Nor is it your fault that Gretchen Whitmer showed up. That's her fault. All right, I'll let it go. Maybe. Mariana, thank you as always. Awesome. Comment, Dr. Zhivago has to go to the vet tomorrow. Oh, no. He can't put weight on his right leg. I hate it when they get sick. Thanks for listening. I hate it when they get sick, too, because obviously they can't tell us what's going on. He can't put... I'm glad you're going to the vet. We hope everything is okay with Dr. Zhivago because, hopefully it's maybe stepped on something. I had a cat who was an outdoor cat. Long story. I don't really like having outdoor cats, but I had to at that point. And he had a limp, and it turns out that he'd gotten in a fight with another cat and had a nail. The other cat's nail was in his foot. So that's what was going on. So hopefully it's something that can be easily fixed. And let us know what happens tomorrow, please. 6 cents, Amelia. Thank you so very much for that. Question. Hi, Mary. Will you be discussing this headline? Sri Tanader on Monday filed 7 articles of impeachment against the second-term Republican. We already have, actually, and we will continue to update you. My takeaway is I am shocked that only one person has filed articles of impeachment against Donald Trump, and we're already 100 days in. But yes, of course, we will keep you posted and updated. Beans, I don't know how to pronounce that, but 3 O's. Thank you very much. That's very generous of you. Comment, Mary. I wonder if we had another huge all-day event like a Live Aid to get mainstream coverage of what people cannot afford to ignore. Very surprised not to hear more big names out there. Yeah, I am a little bit too. But sometimes we don't know what's in the works, right? Because think about it. It's really 100. We're only feels longer, but it is only 100 days. And I think a lot of people have been sort of taken aback by the lack of leadership in the Democratic Party. So, people are kind of waiting, perhaps, I don't know. But I have a feeling artists are going to show up big time. That's what I believe. Donna, thank you so much as always. And we have a cat bell fee. Yeah. Admiral Galacticat, you will never spend a night in jail because we will always bail you out. Okay, from one of our Substack viewers, Stephanie asks, is Donald really that dumb? Yeah, he is. He is. And that actually makes it worse for me. Somehow it would be less bad if it were just some very smart person playing it being dumb. But yeah, he's bereft of all intellectual curiosity or intelligence. Nancy, wow, thanks so much, Nancy. That's great. Another fee for the cat thief. Mm-hmm. I object a little bit to calling Admiral Galacticat a thief. I do. I think maybe he was just doing his job. I don't know what he thought his job was, but that's what I'm going with. In the middle of nowhere. Thank you as always for that comment. Rare bird at my feeder fee. Very cool to me. Yeah, that is very cool. I had to be honest with you. Like, I'm not a bird watcher, so I wouldn't know that it was a rare. I'm ecstatic if I see a cardinal or a pair of cardinals, right? So if you're really into birds, that is amazing. So I'm glad you got to see that. Ashley, thank you so very much. Question, sorry. What is your favorite celestial object in our solar system? Well, if I had to pick one, I would say the moon. Actually, I love the moon. When I was a child, the moon set outside my window. So I could always see it on clear nights. And yeah, I think it's one of the most beautiful things. So thank you for asking. And also, I don't know if I don't know if there's a new moon tonight. Like, I don't know if the crescent was waxing or waning, but the crescent last night was stunning. So check it out tonight in case it's still there. Invisible Pink Unicorn 762. Thank you so much. Comment. We plan to go to the protest in Philly tomorrow. Every protest I go to, I post some pictures on my channel to prove people are showing up. Thank you for all you do to inform us. Well, thank you for going to the protest. Like that, guys, that is the work right now. That is the work, because that is how we grow and get enough people engaged. So when we need to, we have a critical mass of people able to shut it down. Wendy, thank you so very much for that. That's very generous of you. Oh, thanks. SEK is Sweden's currency. I think, yeah, I think I should have known that because I've seen that show up here before. But thank you, Wendy. All right, got some super stickers to thank. Cindy, thank you as always. Kendra, you too. Thank you so much. Jalone, thank you as well. Jazzy, another super sticker. Thank you. Elizabeth, thank you very much for that. That's very kind of you. Lynette, another super sticker. Thank you very much. Cheryl, another Canadian in the house. Thank you so much for that. LB, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Jem, also thanks to you. Loves my dogs a lot, as always. Super sticker. Thank you very much for that. Betsy, another super sticker. Thank you. That's very generous. You guys rock. I just want to, as always, thank you for all of your donations. And again, the easiest way to support us, subscribing to our channel. So another thing that really helps us, YouTube is weird. Like, YouTube has an algorithm, so they take into account all sorts of things: subscribers, comments, like number of comments, how many people like a video, how many people share a video, and the better those numbers are, the more the algorithm picks up the video and puts it in front of more people, right? So that's how we grow. So what's really helpful to us, in addition to subscribing to the channel, is going to all of our pre-recorded videos, which again drop every single day. And basically, like, I'm not really sure what's going on right now, but on occasion, YouTube pitches a fit. It won't surprise you to know this, but the YouTube algorithm is not geared towards liberal voices. So every once in a while, it just doesn't treat us very well. I'm going to quote Mercedes, because this is probably a more accurate way of putting it. The algorithm right now on YouTube is big mad at us, which is something I would never say, but it's in quotes because Mercedes said it. But it's true. Like, it's just incredible. Like, everything is ground to a halt. So anything you guys can do to kind of push that along would be very much appreciated. And again, it doesn't cost anything. It's just literally watching the video, liking it, sharing it, commenting on it. All of that helps us tremendously. Also, I know a lot of people are wondering how to support us if you're able. Another really important way to do that is to go to my Substack, which is called The Good in Us. And subscribe. There are two options. You can become a free subscriber, which is great. But, if you have the wherewithal, please consider becoming a paid subscriber over there, because that helps us do everything, quite honestly. So your subscription over at The Good in Us goes directly to funding all of our independent media programs, including Mary Trump Live, the Nerd Avengers, everything we do. Because, and I hope you're all sitting down because this will shock you, we are not funded by corporate media. And quite frankly, we don't want to be funded by corporate media because we don't want to be beholden to anybody except you guys. So anything you can do is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to find more videos, just check out, as I said, our pre-records, our deep dives on YouTube. That's at Mary Trump Media. Or you can listen to our podcast, Mary Trump Daily, wherever you listen to podcasts. All right, that does it for us. Thank you so much for being here. To everybody watching on YouTube, to everybody live streaming on Twitter and over at my Substack, The Good Enoughs. Thanks, guys. It's great to have you here. And of course, everybody listening to the podcast, to our excellent moderators, and of course, to my phenomenal team for being phenomenal and making all of this work in a way that is quite extraordinary. So thanks, guys. I appreciate it as always. I will be back tomorrow. I don't know what today is. I think it's Wait, is it Wednesday? Yes, it's Wednesday. I will be back tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern for another Mary Trump Live. Don't forget, that's Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. And again, remember, videos dropping all the time. So please check those out. And that does it for us. I will see you tomorrow at 6 p.m. In the meantime, everybody, please stay safe and be kind.